They said she should be grateful to be there. The first, the only, the diversity win. But gratitude can't survive long in a place that confuses visibility with value. This is the story of Naomi Brooks, a woman who walked into rooms built to exclude her, and still found a way to own them. Naomi wasn't looking for validation. She was looking for impact. 34 years old. MBA from Howard. 10 years in strategy consulting. Sure. Grounded. The kind of woman who knew her worth, even when others pretended not to see it. When she joined Leighton & Rowe Capital, the firm introduced her with headlines, "First Black Woman Senior Analyst." They printed her picture in brochures, shook her hand a little too hard, and whispered words that sounded like progress. But inside those walls, progress had a dress code, and she was never quite wearing the right thing. Her first meeting said everything. 12 men, 11 white, 1 woman, her. They smiled when she entered. But it wasn't the smile of welcome. It was the smile of curiosity, like they were wondering what box she checked to end up there. "So Naomi, did they poach you from marketing?" "No. From McKinsey Partners. Strategy Division." She spoke with precision. Her reports were airtight, her data exact. But every suggestion came back with the same echo, "Let's circle back." Corporate code for ignore it until someone else repeats it. She stayed late, not to prove herself, but to protect her peace. Because in rooms that questioned her right to exist, excellence became her armor. Her mother used to say, "Don't just work twice as hard, work wise enough that they can't rewrite your name off the record." So she did. And over time the numbers spoke louder than bias. Naomi led a merger analysis that saved the company $20 million. She streamlined the firm's outdated systems. And still her manager said, "Good work, Naomi. But next time try to be less assertive in meetings." It's intimidating to some of the team. The truth is they didn't know what to do with her strength. They celebrated her when it looked good on paper, but flinched when it spoke with conviction. And it wasn't just the men. It was the whispers from colleagues too scared to stand with her. "She's ambitious. She's intense. She's different." Different. That word again, polite enough to say out loud, sharp enough to wound in silence. "Naomi, we appreciate your contributions, but leadership's decided to move you off the executive track. It's not performance, it's fit. Fit. Don't take it personally. You're talented, but the firm has a specific culture. You might thrive better somewhere more aligned. Somewhere more aligned." She'd heard that before. Every somewhere they sent people like her was a place with ceilings dressed as opportunities. That night she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat in her car, hands on the wheel, engine off, and let the silence settle. Because some endings don't sound like failure. They sound like clarity. And that was the moment it began. Not revenge. Not anger. Vision. She didn't want to climb someone else's ladder anymore. She wanted to build her own. She called it Nova Strategies, a consulting firm designed to help small, minority-owned businesses navigate the same corporate walls that had tried to hold her back. Her first client? A local women-owned architecture firm that couldn't get investors to take them seriously. Naomi helped them secure funding in 6 weeks. Her second client? A startup led by a young black engineer. She coached him through his pitch, and watched him close his first $2 million deal. Word spread. Fast. For the first time, she wasn't the only black woman in the room. She wasn't the token. She was the leader, and her culture wasn't an afterthought. It was the blueprint. And then, the irony arrived in her inbox. The same firm that once told her she wasn't a fit, was now in trouble. Major client loss. Employee turnover. Morale in shambles. They needed help rebuilding. And their board wanted her firm. She read the email once. Twice. Then she whispered, "Of course you do. Tell them I'll take the meeting." They said she didn't fit the culture. But the culture came calling anyway. And when she walked back into that building, she didn't just bring her resume. She brought every lesson they tried to silence. When you've been underestimated long enough, walking back into the room that once dismissed you feels less like revenge, and more like balance being restored. 3 years. That's all it took for the same company that didn't see her as a fit to come knocking for her expertise. They needed a turnaround strategy. They needed new leadership training. They needed someone who understood both excellence and exclusion. They needed Naomi Brooks. Naomi. Been a while. Glad to see you've been doing well. I have. How's the culture? We've had challenges. Employee retention. Internal trust issues. We've read great things about Nova strategies and we think you might be able to help us rebuild. Let's start with honesty then. You don't need help rebuilding. You need help relearning. She didn't gloat. She didn't grandstand. She just spoke truth with the kind of calm that comes from healing. Her team at Nova implemented new programs, anonymous performance reviews, transparent promotion policies, cross-department mentorships. And slowly the numbers began to shift, not just in profits but in humanity. Culture isn't about how people fit in. It's about how people feel safe enough to stand out. She taught them what she'd learned the hard way, that real inclusion doesn't start with slogans. It starts with systems, with accountability, with people who aren't afraid to look in the mirror. The irony wasn't lost on her. Same room, same view, but a completely different woman. She remembered that day, the cold professionalism of rejection, the sting of "you're not a fit." Now that memory was just fuel. Not fire. Not bitterness. Fuel. 6 months later, the firm was thriving again. But this time the foundation was different. Fairer. Wiser. And while Naomi could have walked away then, she didn't. Because the work wasn't just about one company. It was about changing the way the entire industry defined belonging. Her story went public. Not because she sought attention, but because her success became a case study in corporate transformation. Reporters asked, "What does it feel like to come full circle?" It feels like justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it restructures your org chart. You've done well, Naomi. You walk with peace now. I think I finally understand what you meant, Mom. That success isn't about being invited to their table. It's about building one where everyone eats. And that's what she did. Her company expanded globally. She opened mentorship programs for women of color in tech and finance. She became the boss she once needed. In every room she entered now, she made sure no one ever had to ask, "Do I belong here?" Because the answer would already be written in the walls she built. Naomi, I just wanted to say, congratulations. You built something remarkable. Thank you, Derek. I guess I finally fit the culture. They said she didn't fit the culture. But what they didn't realize was that she was the culture all along. They just hadn't evolved enough to see it yet. She was the only black woman in the room, until she became the reason others could walk in without apology. Because true leadership isn't measured by how high you climb, but by how many doors you leave open behind you.